It is going to be a historic moment for Assam when the pro-talk faction of United Liberation Front of Assam, or ULFA, and the government of Assam and Centre signs a peace deal for which negotiations have taken place for more than a decade. To discuss on this, we are joined by somebody who has seen it all in terms of a journalist, and then somebody who has written about it as an author. Joining us is noted senior journalist and author of two very renowned books on ULFA, Mr. Rajeev Bhattacharyya. Mr. Bhattacharyya, first of all, thanks a lot for your time. Your new book, ULFA, The Mirage of a Dawn, has been recently released. It is getting a lot of appreciation for the type of research work you have done, and perhaps it has come at a time when history is being made through a tripartite deal. Tell us, for a viewer outside Assam, outside this country, tell us in brief in terms of the circumstances that led to the formation of ULFA and different milestone in its in its journey of insurgency of over 4 decades. And in fact, even as this deal is being signed, you have the organization broken into 2 factions, with the independent faction led by its supremo Paresh Barua still involved in armed insurgency. Take us through this entire issue of our ULFA's armed revolution and why it was needed, and how do you see this peace deal?
Well, you see, the origin of ULFA, it became active in the early 80s, although the origins can be traced back much earlier. Now, ULFA, since the early 80s, it began a long journey to different countries. First, it went to Myanmar, then Bangladesh, then Pakistan, then China. Say, by the mid-90s, it had such a network that it was second only to the LTTE in South Asia. It has such a massive network. It was second to none among the Northeast insurgent outfits. But basically, well, ULFA is such a huge topic. It's very difficult to sum up everything, say, within 2-3 minutes. So much of issues involved. Everybody thought that the ULFA would crumble when Operation Bajrang was launched in 1990. But it did not. There were certain factors that helped in its sustenance. It went to Bangladesh, the leaders went to Bangladesh. From Bangladesh, they started operating. The situation in Bangladesh had been very favorable for ULFA. Also in Bhutan, camps, a large number of camps were established in Bhutan, Myanmar, Bangladesh. At that point of time, in 90s still, and in 2000, the situation was very favorable. So it went on sustaining. But the problem with ULFA was that it never was very clear about what it wanted to do. The leaders, the main triumvirate, Chairman Rajkwa, General Secretary Anup Chetia, and Chief of Staff Paresh Barua, they were never at one place for a very long time. They never had brainstorming sessions. So basically the roadmap, what ULFA basically wanted, it was confused. That was a big problem with ULFA. Second problem was the internal squabbles. Chief of Staff Paresh Barua on one side, the rest on the other side. Okay, Paresh Barua, the other people said that Paresh Barua always had the tendency to dominate the organization, as a result of which Pakistan had a very overwhelming influence on the organization. ULFA was converted into some kind of a terrorist outfit, which the other leaders did not prefer. Paresh Barua was always insistent that Indian government has to discuss on sovereignty. And when the Indian government in 2005 issued a letter saying that we will discuss all core issues, even then ULFA was not sure about the roadmap. So I would say ULFA, although there were a lot of committed cadres, ULFA, if you have a look at the history, the trajectory of ULFA gives the impression of a very confused organization, confused and committed as well. In Assam, compared to other Jatiyo, the nationalist organizations that we have, ULFA's cadres, functionaries, many of them were much more committed than these other nationalist organizations in Assam. So ULFA really, that was a very big problem with ULFA, about the roadmap. Now, for instance, if you compare ULFA's stance, ULFA's conditions with the separatist groups from Imphal Valley in Myanmar, from Manipur, they are all in Myanmar, most of them. They are determined, we will not talk, we will go on fighting. That's a very clear approach. Okay? Now, alpha that has been a very big problem, but capacity to alpha to survive, that is where the government of India had committed mistakes. Government of India had many times, on many occasions, had thought that alpha would crumble, but alpha did not. But at this point of time, I can say one thing very safely, that it would be very difficult for alpha independent faction to reach a position that it had reached maybe in the late 80s or in the 90s, when it had huge support in Assam's Brahmaputra Valley. That has certainly dwindled. The reason being, people's aspirations have changed. Now, this is the digital technology. You have access to information. People know what is going on. At the click of a mouse, just on the cell phone, you have all kinds of information flowing into you. Okay, so you know what is happening. Even you go a street vendor, even he would have a lot of information. It's very difficult to keep on selling one idea for a long period of time. People want results now. Okay, so basically this all over. These are my conclusions. Basically, it's a very the accord is a positive development. And again, that is a different chapter. Why it's positive? That's on account of different factors in Assam's Brahmaputra Valley.
Also, talking about the accord in itself, there are speculations that the accord will have certain provisions for better safeguards of constitutional, economical, political, cultural and land rights of the indigenous people. ULFA was kind of born at a time when you had the Assam agitation, and then subsequent the Assam Accord was signed. The clause 6 of Assam Accord, which specifically talks about the issues of safeguarding the constitutional rights of the indigenous communities, still remains unimplemented. Do you see this accord kind of addressing to those issues, core issues? Because otherwise there would still be another gap for another nationalist organization to come up.
So at the very outset, let me tell you, ULFA was born much before the Assam agitation had started. Some people have the misconception that the Assam agitation, ULFA was a product of Assam agitation. It was not. Assam agitation gave a boost to ULFA. Okay, we were very young at the time. We knew how we have seen how the Assam agitation progressed. Now, this accord, it will, as I've said, it will be a step forward in the right direction. But the problem lies somewhere else. As I've said, the government has a very notorious track record of implementing all these peace accords. You talk to any of the organizations in Assam or in the Northeast that have concluded peace deals with the center, with the government, they'll have some problems, they'll have some complaints. I was talking to some functionaries of another group about 3 years back. They had just returned from Delhi. Some clauses had not been implemented. So much would depend upon the government also. I believe this accord, certain things have been spelled out, and certain things for the indigenous communities, it will certainly mean a step forward in the right direction. Since the accord has not been signed, so probably it's very difficult to give out details now about what the accord is going to be. But certainly it's going to be a record in the right direction, because one has to remember one thing which is very crucial, which most people in Assam, I believe, they don't understand. The burning issues in Assam, illegal immigration, or maybe let's take riverbank erosion, which I believe is extremely serious. State and society in Assam have not been able to come up with any solution so far. On the slightest pretext, you have civil society organizations blocking the roads, agitation, but these have failed. There have been no results. You remember in 2019 the kind of agitations that we witnessed against the Citizenship Amendment Act. And yesterday we have the Home Minister saying that we are going to implement come what may. So what happened to those 4 or 5 people lost their lives? So state and society have failed in Assam's Brahmaputra Valley in tackling these issues. So whatever any organization is able to grab from New Delhi, that has to be welcomed. Beggars cannot be choosers. People of Assam must understand this. Okay? The issue has not been solved. No use going on engaging in agitations again and again. Grab whatever is possible, implement whatever is possible. Now it is rearguard action. Save whatever is possible. Riverbank erosion, again we don't see, every year we hear of the Brahmaputra gobbling up huge chunks of land. Even now there is no, you don't know, there is no road map. This is reflected on the part of society, also on part of government. Government is always reflection of society. So everything is interrelated.
But Mr. Bhattacharya, when you look at peace processes in the Northeast, ever since Prime Minister Modi took charge as Prime Minister in 2014, there have been subsequently several peace processes being signed across Northeast India. Recently, we had the first valley-based organization in Manipur, a faction of UNLF, coming forward and signing an accord. The number of insurgent outfits in Northeast coming into mainstream has increased, and number of insurgent activities have come down. Do you see this as a win-win situation, and this pro-talk factions peace deal being the latest one, a big boost for the BJP politically and also for giving peace a chance in this region, peace and development?
It's certainly a very positive development. Number two, politically it's going to help the BJP. But to say that only the BJP has been responsible for this peace accords, I'll have problems in agreeing to that. Okay, now in Manipur, that UNLF peace accord again is a very positive development. But we are told that the anti-talks faction of UNLF, the number of functionaries would be much more than the Pambay faction. The Boro accord that was signed in 2000. Now I am told that this accord, somebody has filed a PIL, this accord has been, there's some problem in the accord in implementation with the NDTV in 2000. So, what I'll say that the government needs to be more serious, less of marketing. As I've said, the burning issues still remain. The Northeast is the most strategic part of the country. It is also a biodiversity hotspot. You cannot convert Northeast into Haryana or Gujarat. This is no place for big industries. Okay, it's more like Himachal Pradesh. You maintain the purity, the flavor of the place. It's going to be a gold mine for the country.
One last question, and this would be a question which you would come across even after this deal being signed, you being somebody who is an authority to speak on ULFA, is the fact that the independent faction led by its supremo, Mr. Paresh Barua, still remains adverse to this peace deal at least. In past, he has shown indications that he wants to talk peace, but have never come forward. Do you see any possibility of Mr. Paresh Barua subsequently joining or starting a peace process with his faction? Number one. Number two, a peace accord without Mr. Paresh Barua, how fruitful it is?
Well, answering your first question, Alpha I Supremo Paresh Barua has stuck to his earlier demand that on the discussion table, Assam's sovereignty must be discussed, which the government of India is unwilling. It had made a huge concession in 2005, saying that we are willing to discuss all core issues, under quotes, core issues. Alpha should have grabbed the opportunity. It did not, because Alpha gives me the impression of a very confused organization, although it had many committed functionaries. So Paresh Barua has stuck to that demand. It remains to be seen. If the ice can be broken, he might come over. Secondly, the place where Paresh Barua is stationed just at the moment, it may not be very easy for him to exit from that place. It will require some very tactical moves. Okay, that is my first answer to your first question. Now the second question, answering, the accord now that is going to be inked on the 29th is a development in the positive direction. As I've said, people in Assam, the indigenous communities, are no longer in a position to go to Delhi and order New Delhi to give concessions. New Delhi will simply say, you get lost. New Delhi will not lose anything. BJP will keep on winning elections in Assam for quite some time. So New Delhi has nothing to lose. Any organization that can go to Delhi and grab something, everything has to be welcome. All kinds of accord, all kinds of agreements. The question is to implement it soon and efficiently. So it's certainly a step in the positive direction. And certainly it's also the fact that government has given importance to this faction, signed an agreement. It certainly is going to have an impact on the security scenario in Assam and the Northeast, certainly.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Bhattacharya. So there you are, Mr. Rajeev Bhattacharya, senior journalist, a very well-known author on the issue of ULFA, clearly saying that this peace accord is a step in the right direction, but what remains to be seen is how the government goes forward to implement the clauses which will be there in the new peace deal. In Guwahati with Nakul Rabha, Ratnadip Choudhury for NDTV.